Welcome back to the Paranorm Girl podcast. I am your host, Kristen. Tonight's guests will be our final guests of the season, and they are so fitting to have on to help me wrap up this year-long dive into the ghostly and the haunted. I've been really excited to have them on. I've been thoroughly enjoying their work, their body of work, and binge listening to both of their shows from the start because I'm a crazy person like that. But you know what? After tonight's chat, I think you will too. Hey guys, hello to the chat. Melissa, thank you for jumping on, girl. Good to see ya. I'm glad you made it home safely. Hair Force, you're solid, dude. Thank you so much, sir. Chat will be open tonight. That's all on that. So, as always, or as of a couple of months ago, as always, since then, announcements are going to be held till the end of the show. Please hang around for those. I just got a couple for you tonight. But for now, let's go ahead and just jump right in. Let's get to the meat and greet of it all. Damian and Nicole are paranormal researchers known for their innovative and esoteric investigative techniques, and they specialize in ITC work, that is Instrumental Transcommunication. If you don't know what that is, that's okay. We're going to talk about it. They also run the ParaPeculiar Museum of Haunted Items and are hosts of two popular podcasts, ParaPeculiar and The Real Ghosts of. Nicole and Damian have been featured on BuzzFeed, Fox, Yahoo News, Den of Geek, Austin Monthly Magazine, RTX Fest, Ethereal Horror Fest, and more, showcasing their unique approach to the paranormal. Please welcome to the show my guests, Nicole Riccardo and Damian Schillaci.
Hello.
Hello. Oh my goodness. What is up? What's going on? How's your day been?
Well, it just got infinitely better because of whoever's in the chat with the name Hair Force One.
You know, people have tried to buy that name from him. He'll tell you.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
Well, we have a Patreon member called Sir Talking Hair, which I feel like Hair Force One would have been more appropriate because he drives us around. He's our para roadie on Hair Force One. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Start calling his truck the Hair Force.
The Hair Force. We got to get him a vanity license plate.
Yeah, Hair Force.
Hair Force.
Absolutely. Hair Force, you'll have to let me know when your birthday is. I'll get you something. Man, you guys. Well, thank you so much for coming on. And like I said, pre-show, I am starting to sweat. So sorry about that. Like I was saying, you know, you guys get into you are just surrounded constantly, it seems, with the paranormal. You do so much. You've got your own like techniques and methods, and I do want to touch on a bunch of that stuff today. But I'm thinking maybe just let's start this out like super easy breezy. Why don't we just do a quick brief intro from each of you, or if you want to do a culminated thing, kind of tell us who you are.
Who am I? I am a human.
Solid. Love that answer.
On this planet. I'm not pleased about it, but here we are. Yes, I am Nicole. I am one half of ParaPeculiar and The Real Ghosts of. The Real Ghosts of podcast is our investigation podcast where we air all of those things and our weird travels and adventures. And then ParaPeculiar is like, if you want to go down rabbit holes, if you are into the fringe, the weird, you want to talk about UFOs, you want to talk about Mothman, you want to talk to the weirdest of the weird in the paranormal, that's ParaPeculiar. So we do both of those. We did not start out doing everything together, but we actually, the way that we met is funny because I had no idea that I was meeting you. I actually went over to the Glass Coffin, RIP, our good friend Joey. And I had gone up there because we were going to talk about me doing some mediumship workshops there for him. Because I am the medium of the team. And I get there and he's like, oh, hey, you have to meet my friend Damian. He has, the Haunted Museum. And then, you grilled me As you do. So I'll let you take over from there.
Yeah, I don't take it. The second somebody tells me that they are a medium, or someone tells me that such and such is a medium, I grill them, right? So I had the museum, and I always had all these items that I purposefully would bring in to fake out people that would tell me that they were mediums. I never wanted to sort of surround myself with I would say probably 90% of that community. I know that's very it's wild to say, but
I do not introduce myself as a medium.
Right. So did the grilling, but from then, I mean, we've been doing pretty much everything together. I mean, she had her own podcast, I had my own podcast, and I had the museum, and we met, and those two things became combined very, very, very quickly. So
And Indie Para House was born at that point?
It was born. Yeah.
Basically our umbrella of all of the things that we do, because we also, we have the podcast, the museum. I make, witchy shit, and you do reading. So it's just kind of a, Indie Para House, all of the spooky, weird things that we do.
Your one-stop shop to everything.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Nicole, do you still teach? Do you have like classes and such? Thought I heard that you taught like mediumship skills.
Yeah. I do one-on-one mentorship for it, because I'm very when it comes to mediumship specifically, I just feel that everybody's abilities are different. The way that everybody is able to tap into their abilities is different. Like, I've done some mediumship boot camps before. That's kind of the, the like basic 101, like, here's all the clairs, let's do some exercises, whatever. But aside from that, I'm pretty adamant that, like, I don't know that I would want to do it in a classroom setting, because I feel like it's just so individualized.
I think, though, that what she's maybe getting at, you do a lot of mentoring, call it teaching, on our Patreon for sure.
Yes, we do. We do a lot of, I think most of the classes and stuff that we do are on our Patreon. I would say, like, this month we're doing a tarology and tea, actually at the Para House right here. So, but it will be streamed virtually for people who are not local. But yeah, you'll be teaching a
little tarot,
different style, a different reading system for tarot. But yeah, we like to do fun things like that all the time.
Dang, I envy your guys' energy to continue doing all of this stuff. I really do. 41 years old. I feel like I'm 80. Damian.
Okay.
Did you not listen to her early episodes on The Real Ghost Stuff? She's an amazing medium, like jaw-dropping stuff.
Yeah, well, and that is the thing, right? Is when it comes to the content world, I'm very at arm's length with a lot of it, and I do gatekeep who I kind of bring into my world, because unfortunately in this world there is a lot of not great sort of authentic people. So I want to stay away from that. So no, and it's funny, I had never actually even heard her podcast before. I don't listen to a ton of podcasts. I have like 3 that I like.
Yeah, and they're not really paranormal podcasts.
No, there's only one paranormal podcast that I even listen to, and that's our good bruv Troy Taylor of American Hauntings podcast. So everyone should definitely check that out, and check out his museum as well in Alton, Illinois.
I do feel like that, though, has also been fairly intentional for both of us separately, and then when we started talking, we're like, oh, we both kind of feel the same way on this. I feel like as a creator of any sort, right, whether it's in the paranormal field or an artist or a musician or whatever you are, I prefer not to really consume a lot of content in that category, because I feel like then you just kind of like inadvertently start doing what everybody else is doing, versus like being creative and coming up with your own things, which is what your strength is.
Yeah, if it can even be called a strength. I mean, when I started the podcast, if you were to Google like how to do a successful podcast, I don't do any of that. Like I break all of those. Like I don't. It's long-winded. I go down rabbit holes with people. We'll end up somewhere way far away from what we started. So that was completely different. But yeah, I don't listen to a ton of paranormal podcasts, really, just the one. So I'd never heard hers. But it's wild because when we kind of connected, we first started doing events together because at the time the museum was a mobile exhibit. We would go and do these mobile exhibits. So Glass Coffin as an example. And we started doing events together. We started doing seances together within a year's time. Both podcasts were meshed together, and you were now part of the museum. And we just kind of built this para house up very quickly.
Yeah, because I feel like it was, we both separately, like before we met each other, had very similar ideas, and even kind of started similarly, and also like just both don't really love rules. Or being told what to do, and both separately enjoyed a haunted item. So yeah, it was kind of like, well, I guess we're kind of doing the same thing anyway. Let's just put it all together.
Join forces.
Join forces. And when two people like us join forces, and at the point we're at now, like living in,
you end up with a haunted house.
You end up with a haunted house. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm looking over at a antique embalming table with a corpse stain on it. I'm looking over. We live in a haunted house, so this is our life. It's not about energy. Trust me, we have zero energy. But these things keep coming, don't they?
All right. Dang. Okay. So clarify for me. Are you in the museum, right? Do you live in the museum?
No.
Okay.
No. But our house, certainly, you have to think. I mean, like you mentioned ITC stuff earlier. We are content people. We create content. We have the podcast and everything else, but it's actually our life. So
yeah, I mean, the content that we do is basically like set the camera there and it's filming what we're doing already. You know what I'm saying? Because like I'm literally like looking over like our TV stand has a giant radio on it, and various other radios, and the little God phone device that you've created, and a jar of graveyard dirt. So this is
Amy, my haunted doll.
And Amy, my haunted doll. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Warwick, what's up, my bro?
Yeah, you got a fan in the chat, dude. Thanks for jumping on. Okay, Damian. Let's start getting into the haunted objects and that world here. What motivates a person to collect a haunted object?
Well, I don't know if I can tell you what motivates a person. I can tell you what motivates me, and it is stories. I first started collecting oddities and antiques based off of old coins. And my very first old coin I bought that was like from the late 1800s, whatever. And I never bought it for the value of it, for the intrinsic value of it. But I knew, and I would hold these things in my hand like, oh my God, like how many people have been a part of this thing's existence? Like how many stories could it tell if it could talk? So I started there, and I used to just collect antiques and oddities. For the stories specifically. That's like what I'd get off on. Going to an estate sale and running across my first item that I was told was haunted was interesting. And from there, that's how the hobby started, because it started by, hey, this is a really interesting story attached to this item. I wonder if there's a bunch of other people that have similar stories. And it started there, like me putting myself out there saying, hey, do you have an item that you feel is haunted? And I was an atheist at the time. All right. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, I didn't believe in any of this stuff. But it started there. And when you then start having experiences, that then changes the whole trajectory of everything. But it started with stories.
Okay. And Hair Force has a question. What makes an object haunted?
Oh, that is
big question.
Entire talk in and of itself.
I'll try to summarize though. I mean, look, what makes an item haunted is the best way to frame that is not to ask, can an item be haunted, right? Because every item in a sense is. This table that I'm sitting at, right? This shirt that I'm wearing. The question isn't, can an item be haunted, right? We leave our imprint, our memories, our energy, even though I don't really like that word, on everything we come in contact with. And quantum mechanics shows us that potentially everything in existence has its own form of consciousness, right? So, but the question is, what makes certain items active? Right? That's the question. We don't have an answer for you. We just have a whole handful of experiences that we live.
And I think even with that, there are different types though too, you know, because there's active in the sense that like, okay, the doll that you were just talking about that you got at the estate sale, it's just a smell that kind of comes with it, right? But then most often when we get items for the museum, they were experiencing things, but then when we get it, we never experience anything.
But the experience stops for them after they give us the item.
But then there are the items that are just something else.
Looking at one right now.
Yes, we have the haunted mirror over there. Like, I'm sorry, but Annabelle like has nothing on that. We were speaking at the convention that she was at in Texas, down in San Antonio. I gave her a little kiss on the forehead. You know, she's a very sweet doll. But yeah, some things are just something else.
Yeah. Well, I wanted to ask you about particular items in like that you have maybe around you or in the museum. Like,
I'm so sorry. Okay, I don't mean to interject, but can I just address Hair Force's question here?
Yes, the first question.
How much of a haunting do you think applies to the owner or as to the object itself? Great question. Hair Force One.
Hair Force One.
Harrison Force. God, that's a good one, because I think most times, like you just heard us say, a lot of people will have these experiences with an item. They give it to us. The experience stops for them. We never experience that from the item itself. So I think, to your question, a lot of what happens in the paranormal phenomena world is based on the people experiencing it, hands down. I really fully, truly believe that, because I've always thought it's weird. Like, now look, there are certain places that are haunted AF, as the kids say, right? AF. That I don't know why that is, but I think more often than not, people are haunted, not places.
Yes, the owner as the object. Yeah, I think a lot of it is physical manifestations from the person, like physical manifestations of the energy, which most commonly would be referred to or known as like poltergeist activity. You know, I think that's kind of the mainstream way of looking at it, but I think it gets much weirder than just, you know, some knocks and taps and such.
It does.
Okay. So when does a ghost, you know, so to speak, simplified, a ghost ever come into play with haunted objects, locations, haunted people?
What do you mean? Just to make sure I understand
a ghost, a deceased spiritual, energetic thing. Like, I guess that's a good, that would be a question I would ask you, but I know that that's such a huge question. Like, what is a ghost? But just in your own words, like in your experience, does a ghost, the remnant, energetic remnant of a deceased person, have anything to do with the haunted object, or is it always the perceiver?
Great question. Most of the time for me, I would say, and you may have a different answer, but I think most of the time it is the perceiver. It's the experiencer. Look, we've seen this happen before, where a group of people will experience something, but the one person who is sort of the non-believer in that group is the one person who does not experience it. And that is, you can't take that away from both the experiencer or the non-experiencer. Right? Because they both had this sort of version of reality that, based off of their thought process and philosophies and ideas and everything else that makes them up, somehow filtered it and gave them this experience. So go ahead.
I mean, I feel like this is probably where he and I are going to have differing opinions. This is where we have many debates. Because in terms of like a ghost, like, oh, there is, you know, so-and-so's dead grandma is standing over in the corner right now. You know, I will say, in regards to the haunted items specifically, I do think that's much more rare. I do think it's a lot more likely, and at least what I've encountered personally, it's just kind of the energy of, you know, the person, people, places, whatever. Though we do have a couple that I am convinced would have an attachment.
Well, there's not even a convinced. It's in our opinions, not even opinions, in our experience, provable, I mean, we have a few items that for whatever reason, it doesn't matter what owner has them. They seem to just be wild.
Things will occur. So, I think whether that is a deceased person, whether it is, I don't know, some sort of energetic portal type deal, I don't know. I think in general, though, I think my answer would probably be like, I'm a both and girly. So yes, I do believe that there can be spirits of deceased people, people who have passed. I do think it's a lot more rare than we think it is. Otherwise, literally every square inch of the world would have stacks of dead, ghosts, the ghosts of dead people everywhere.
Just running around. Like the end of the movie Ghostbusters. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the guy here on the comments said something. Air Force One. He's the new bro. He mentioned Sasquatch in there. He mentioned
yes. Put it back up here.
If you were to ask me what all this is, I'm going to tell you that Sasquatch and a quote ghost are the same thing.
Expand on that, please.
Yeah, I think that, whatever it is that we are experiencing when we have this phenomena, whether it's a cryptid, whether it's a ghost, whatever, those words, ghost, Bigfoot, cryptid, they're words that it's language that we have to get a thing that we don't understand, that we could, to identify it. So if you look back in antiquity and you look at the countless experiences people had that were called, let's say, angels, well, they're almost verbatim the same experiences that people are having when they have UFO experiences. But today we call them UFOs or we call them aliens or whatever, because in our thinking and culture and time, that's what makes sense. I think that whatever it is that we're communicating with is so far out of reach of what we could understand that the only way for us to understand it is to give it words like ghost or Sasquatch. But I think what it is something's being projected to us in a reality that's around us that we just can't see. And through a lot of different things, whether cultural systems, different belief systems, whatever, there's a filter and we experience it in a certain way. There's that great story of the two girls that saw the UFO and they both saw it in a different way. And the people that were with them did not see it. They took a picture of it and it looked like in the picture, nothing like either of them had seen. It looked just like a silver sphere in the sky.
Yes, basically just that things are presented to an individual in the way that they are going to be most likely to be able to understand it or feel it or accept it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
Which is interesting because if you look at paranormal phenomena or cryptid sightings, which I lump in the same category, if you really do the research in different people's experiences, there's only like a handful of things that happen, and it's all so similar it would make your head spin. To the point where you can listen to recordings of disembodied voices, or like in our case, we had a whistling that was following us for a while, and then we were listening to recordings of other people that had heard it. It's like the same thing. It's like a recording. It's almost like there's an AI or some kind of technology projecting these things to us to give us spiritual experiences.
Okay. This is fantastic because I will tell you in my dumbed down brain, I've had this exact thought about near-death experiences. Near-death experiences is my jam. I love to talk about it. I love that. But the idea that the perceiver, the person experiencing the thing, kind of sees what they're expecting to see. Like it has to already be in their scope, their mental scope. Like you have to already be aware of it. It's in your toolbox, so to speak. And I've always thought about that in regards to near-death experiences. But I guess to recap or kind of put back together what you were saying, like you're saying, is all of the paranormal, anything that you could think of on the spectrum of the paranormal, it's all the perceiver's doing, like what they see is what they're expecting to see?
No, not in that regard. But if you look at experiences throughout history, here's a great example. We are going to experience a haunted location differently than they would in maybe Korea. Okay, because the cultural differences. Right. And I think we have to look at that. And I think there's something to that. So I have a theory that I call haunting ants. Okay. So haunting ants. If you went and you bought yourself an ant farm, okay, and you have the ant farm and there's little ants in there living their life, doing their thing, and you would go and you would do little things like you would shine a red light into the ant farm every time they did something. Well, okay, what have you just done? You've literally just given that ant colony paranormal phenomena, because now they have this red light coming from the sky, seemingly from nowhere, definitely from somewhere that they can't perceive where it's coming from. And it seemingly happens when they do a certain thing. So maybe they start to notice that. Maybe all of a sudden they've created a god because here you are doing these things. What happens if you reach into that ant farm and you pick up a little ant, you take him over here, you put him on a petri dish, you look at him, you do your thing, then you put him back. Well, his little brothers are like, hey, man, where'd you go? He's like, I don't know. I was walking around. I was digging a tunnel. All of a sudden, something came out of the sky, and I got lifted up and taken out. And then all of a sudden, I'm on this craft, and they prod me, and they put me back. Well, you just gave me a UFO experience.
Yeah. And I think that it's like to the question that you were asking, I think it's very similar to like dimensions, right? Like we can kind of think of and perceive and understand like 2D, right? And how that works. But we would be absolutely unable to even fathom or comprehend like what, say, 5D or 6D might be, right? Like we know this.
And we can try to.
And so I think paranormal activity, like I definitely do think that some of it is intelligent. I don't think all of it is intelligent because again, both and girly. So I don't know that I'm on, it's literally all the same thing, but the intelligent part of it, I think the main point is like, it's something that is more intelligent than we are able to even comprehend. And I think whatever that intelligence is able to tap into the viewer, right? Whoever might be viewing it or experiencing at that time, whatever country you're in, culture you're in, you know, and like basically play on that to project to what they might be able to actually receive. You know, that's even documented in, like you were talking about, like the angel sightings earlier.
Correct.
And a lot of the like Marian apparition things, she will ask, you know,
which
like,
of the major beliefs do you agree with? Which
Yes.
I think is interesting as can be. And I think the message behind a lot of those isn't so much like, hey, believe this religion, because if you believe this one, you're going to die, then you're going to end up in. No, I think the message is belief in that spiritual side of things. Like the whole point, I think, of these experiences is to keep people reminded that there's a spiritual component, that materialist view of the world is not even a fraction of what
just
reality
a whole
is.
lot of shit that we do not understand.
Very eloquently put, my love. Yeah, understand.
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 Just wanted to pull a couple of these up here. Wayne, as soon as you talked about the whistle, it glitched on my side. Maybe they'll all hear it soon too.
Now, I do want to give your guest a warning.
Okay.
I am so sorry. It has happened. We have countless messages from people that, and this will answer Hair Force One's question. Yes, Hair Force, we have 2 podcasts you can actually consume. One is called ParaPeculiar. The other is called The Real Ghost of. And you can go check out our Patreon as well. And we're all over. We drive around the country. So if we're in your area, let us know and we'll come say hi. What was I saying?
UAB.
The whistling here. Let me put it back up here.
We have on multiple episodes now relating to this specifically. We have actually had to start putting disclaimers on our episodes because anytime we bring this item with us or even just talk about this, hence the podcast episodes, people do tend to start
getting the whistle,
hearing this as well. Like they'll be in their house and hear a whistle, also may have suddenly flies all over and or find little pieces of glass places.
Oh, if it gets that bad, you need to reach out to us pretty immediately and let us know.
Well, if you experience any of those, just send us a DM and let us know. It's not going to do anything. I don't know. I think it's just kind of like being like, hey, what's up? You know? But I'm so sorry because we talked about it. So disclaimer, you might hear a whistle. Sorry.
Is there anything anybody listening or whatever can do right now to kind of shield themselves from what you're about to say?
Personally, I don't think so.
You know, and this is like, I used to, poor young naive Nicole, I used to, you know, believe all of the mediums and the spiritual teachers out there that are like, oh, just set your boundary and say, you can't do this, Mr. Ghost. Oh no, this place that we're talking about where this all came from, my number one boundary that I always set when we go into haunted locations, because we go into some bad fucking places, is you cannot touch me. Like, I do not want you to touch me. You cannot scratch me. Oh, they do not care. They do not care. This
At
was
one place.
we went there and you literally watched it like materializing on my back. I got scratched. They do not give a fuck. They do not give a single fuck. And like, yeah, I mean, we're humans. We don't understand how any of this works. Sure, you can set your boundaries and whatever, but like,
I've never understood that. Like, people are like, oh, I'm gonna go cleanse myself, or I'm gonna set my boundaries. And it's like, okay, well, you mean to tell me like you lose that much power when you die? Like, I'm a ghost and my entire existence is like, oh man, I don't want to go mess with this person. Whoop, I can't. They said no. Like, I can't.
I think it depends. Okay, well, here you're generalizing. I feel like you can still do like cleansings and protections and whatever. However, I do think it depends heavily on the manner in which you're doing it, because there's a difference between like cleansing and say something that's like exercising or say binding, right? Like, those are all different things. But also, I do think it depends very heavily on the type of entity, right?
Yeah.
Because there's like, yeah, sure, we have our like, you know, dead grandma that's in the corner, right? Hi, grandma. But there's also you know, everybody likes to talk about the D word, and you know, it's the hot topic, right? Deviant, you know, and like, I don't know. But what I do know is there are some things that just are inherently not good.
Yeah.
It is not good.
Yeah.
Like, we've encountered it. I don't know what it is. I'm not putting labels on it, but all I'm saying is they're not abiding by anybody's rules.
What I find really compelling, to be honest, on that is I think when it comes to cleansing rituals and things like, well, first off, I think it takes a serious belief. Now, if in your practice that you are into, if that's a big component, great, then it's going to work. Okay. It's kind of like a Ouija board. If I don't believe in it, then no problem. I mean, we have so many, it's ridiculous. They're all over the house. If I have a fearful of it, which is one thing I noticed having the museum open, is different cultures coming in and seeing their reactions to things like Ouija boards. Well, one culture never experiences anything negative with them, whereas the other one all the time.
Right.
So you can't tell me that a Ouija board's like, oh, I'm going to get this culture over here, not this one. No, it's a belief thing. It's 100% a belief thing.
And that's the thing. If you believe in demons, you see them everywhere, or whatever that saying is. Yeah.
Correct. Now, here's the deal. Coming from someone who went from a non-believer to this demon word gets thrown around a lot, all the way back to, wow, this word demon might be a thing. You know, I do think it's just, again, it's interesting. It's an ego that we have as humans to think that something that has probably been here longer than we are can do wild things that we can't even see or perceive as to why they can happen. All of that. But somehow, if we burn some sage that we bought for an overpriced price at some shop, it's going to go away. I don't. That seems snake oily to me in a way. And I think it's a way to sell mysticism to the West. I think it used to be, if you were going to do a cleansing, it wasn't as simple as, oh, let me buy some sage and burn it. There was rituals that went along with that were embedded into you and your family through your lineage and your culture. We have taken that and sold it to the masses and said, look how easy it is. Go burn the sage and you won't have any demons. I think that's a farce.
It's the difference of, you know, being a witch and a mall witch, right? Like, oh, I'm going to open this book and, you know, read these instructions and mix this up. And, you know, I don't need anything to go along with it, versus like ritual, like ceremonial, you know.
But this stuff does work though, because like prayer, as an example, is cleansing to me.
Well, that's also ritualistic.
It's ritualistic. We've seen certain things we've put up in our home cause the home to have a negative response to it.
Yeah.
So it works. I think though that it's not as simple as, oh, let me just go burn some sage. I don't even know what this is or what culture it comes from, but I'm going to burn it because it can apparently get rid of ghosts.
I think just an overall, a blanket statement, which you know how much I dislike those. Okay?
Correct.
I very much dislike blanket statements, but I think blanket statement is people like things to be simplified because we live in an era where you can go on TikTok and there's, 15-second videos, and you can search on Google, and there's an AI, one paragraph response at the top, and everybody wants things to be like bite-sized, quick, fast, but like that's not actually how the world is. There's a lot of nuance, and there's a lot of subtlety, and there's a lot of black and white. And I think it's the difference between, like, oh, I'm gonna like skim all of these 100 things I just Googled, versus like you were saying, your shtick is near-death experiences, and being like, this is my fucking thing, and I'm going down the rabbit hole on it, and like I'm gonna actually learn about it and learn from like all of these various cultures around the world and read all of these different things. It's like not just surface level, like
I gotta say, the NDE stuff, the near-death experience stuff, Nicole and I look at that very heavily. That to me, but most importantly, the similarities that all these people across cultures and across time have when it comes to near-death experiences, that's compelling stuff. And that's going to give you more answers on to what's going on with all this, in my opinion, than probably most anything.
Yeah. Oh, God, that stuff blows my mind. Like, what's interesting about near-death experiences, and we are going way off topic. I'm going to bring us back. I promise you guys. I know you both have ADHD. I'm going to bring you back. But what is so it's intriguing about the near-death experience, and this has been documented over and over and over again. Raymond Moody laid out like 12 basic fundamental tenets of the near-death experience. And not every near-death experiences all 12 every single time. But time and time again, you see the tunnel, you reach a boundary, you see a past loved one, a guiding entity, whatever. Like, there's these things that repeat throughout these experiences, while the experiences across the board have their own individual flavor based on a person's culture or belief system or whatever. So that is how they are different. But time and time again, they come back and they include these fundamental, like, cornerstones of the near-death experience. So yeah, it's we could go off. We could. I am talking about it September 3rd. Chat, anybody who's tuning in, September 3rd on Beer, Booze, and Boogeymen. I'll give you the deets after this.
That's a hell of a name.
It's fun. It's a call-in show. It's a good time. But yeah, I'll give all that at the end. But bringing it back. Wait. What is the Whistler? What did you figure it out? Did you think about it? What the hell is it?
We've gone all across the board there. We have our thoughts. And just to give you context, we have a video of when this happened, but there is a location. It's here in Texas, and it is, out of all the places I've ever been, I think haunted is a word that does it a disservice.
Yes.
Anyhow, we have the video of this happening. We were in this house. I was upstairs and Nicole was downstairs, and there's video footage of us both as this happens. And you hear throughout the house this weird whistling, like someone's whistling a tune at you. Okay, so you see us both react, whatever. And it was in the house, whatever. We heard it. Well, the next day we're leaving the house. Long story short, we end up getting an item from the house given to us by the owner. And from there, that same whistling had followed us around. Mm-hmm. And infecting podcast listeners. We started taking those items to our events that we speak at, and we'll get messages from people that were there, and they'll say that damn whistling, it's in the house, or I got hissed at, or whatever. And
and even when I was editing the RGO episodes, that included that the girl who was editing the audio for the podcast at that time, she had to stop editing the episode and refused to edit the rest of that series in her house, because when she was editing it, she was there by herself and she heard somebody walking around upstairs, and then she was getting growled at, and she was like, no, I literally will, I'm sorry, this is going to be late. I cannot edit this in my house.
So that house that we're talking about, where we got the item from, which we now have several items from, I became very obsessed with the house. We've been there so many times. It's ridiculous. But, we have all these items. I actually spoke with many of the people that lived at the house before it was a place that paranormal people were going to. And he straight up told me, he was like, dude, if you take anything from that house, you're going to have this thing that's just going to follow you and attach itself to you. I don't know what it is. I don't know why it is, but it is.
Yeah, which is what Kathy said too. One of the current owners that they've taken things home from the house, you know, because the decor, whatever. And she was like, no, like I had to bring it back because as soon as you have something in your house from that house,
it's over.
She was like, it creates some sort of like portal or tether. Like, I don't know how this works. I don't know what's going on here, but like it does. And then stuff starts coming, like popping up in their house and it's following them around. And so, yeah.
She won't even, and she owns the house. She will not even go in the upstairs.
She will not go in the upstairs. She has broken so many bones from like having accidents in that house that she's convinced happened from there.
People get freaking black eyes in there, dude.
Yeah, it killed one of her dogs.
It's a wild place. It was, I've never experienced anything like this in my life, but twice there, I've seen a shadow figure on 4 legs crawling at me.
Okay.
It doesn't happen. You know, like that is such a, whisperings are reported often also. Yeah, whispering. So who is that? Unreal Estate Agent. Great name, by the way. We are actually in the market, maybe, if you can find us a haunted house. Well, another haunted house. The whispering, we hear that quite often.
Yeah, and we heard one of the times when we were upstairs, we kept hearing that lady humming.
Oh yeah, we hear the humming lady.
Weird.
You get the
alien noise, the like clicking.
Oh, it's so weird. It's so weird. We get the cat hissing at us.
Yeah. So anyway, that's that place.
Sorry, we talk a lot, man. We are so sorry.
You're making my job so easy tonight. I'm enjoying it. Keep it up. Keep up the good work.
Yeah.
And Unreal Estate Agent 077. Thumbs up, bud. Thank you. Okay. Oh my gosh, you guys. So I think that's all I had to ask about the whistling. I'll keep an eye out. So wait. So the original item that you think was this was attached to it, if you took it with you and you start hearing the whistling in your home, is this one of those items you were talking about, Nicole? Like you have a few that something happens no matter what?
Yeah.
Kind of outside the boundaries of your theories thus far. Okay. Interesting. All right. Well, if anybody has any other questions about haunted items, stick them in the chat. We are going to move on because we are going to run out of time. I got to get into your paranormal investigation, your techniques, your methodologies. And I'm just going to, hi, paranormal darling. That might be for you guys. I don't know.
We are. No. The last time we were on someone's podcast,
the darlings of the paranormal.
Is that Blake?
Is it Blake? Blake, is that you?
Are you Blake?
Wait, if it is, then it's all of them because they're at Velisco right now.
They're at Velisco. If it is y'all, we were just talking about y'all, and we were dancing around our little kitchen here because I was like, our bruvs are at Velisco right now. Is it fun?
Action figures? I'm not in on the conversation, the joke.
Who knows? It could be our bruvs. Anyhow, what were we saying?
Okay, yes. All right. So aside from just being totally just surrounded by the paranormal constantly 24, it's your life, which I think gives you an extra edge when it comes to your paranormal research and you guys being able to come up with these new theories and do experiments like, spend 10,000 hours to become an expert in anything. I think you guys are doing that. An additional unique edge is, of course, Nicole's mediumship, I think. And I have been able to kind of see the evolution a little bit, just listening to The Real Ghosts of and seeing those early episodes and the walkthroughs move forward. So it's evolved a little bit. Can you tell us how you incorporate today the mediumship aspect into your investigations?
Yeah, I mean, I do still do walks sometimes, but oftentimes now I end up knowing where we're going because a lot of times we'll be somewhere and then somebody will be like, oh, you guys have to go check out this place this person was talking about, and they're just like telling us everything, right? Or it'll be like happenstance how we end up in a place and then they're like, oh yeah, it's haunted, you have to come investigate, so a lot of times things will just kind of fall into our laps like that. And so for me, I'm like, even though I know, like, dude, I have 1,000,001 other things to do than sit here and like go down the rabbit hole and try to research things, like we have researchers who help us with that. I just feel weird about doing my walk at a location when I already know where it is we're going, so now,
and we are dreadfully aware.
So
we're dreadfully aware of the fact that anyone that listens to those walks, like they could, if they wanted to, just say, we don't know that you've never been there before. And
yeah,
we don't,
mediums get dragged all the time. So whatever. I mean, I'm less concerned about. I'm just like, if they're going to believe or not, whatever.
I think we found a better way to utilize those skills.
Yeah. The way that we've been incorporating it more now is obviously we do Estes method, like a lot of like spirit communication. But I think the thing that's been working that I've been liking most recently is we had a piece of equipment built for us that has the different frequency tones for each chakra center in the body. Like there's, a different like frequency tone that corresponds to each one. And so using that, which is literally just a tone, like a single note, but having that with headphones on, so it kind of gets you into that like altered state of consciousness, and then kind of channeling, which for me at least I've found is a lot. I feel like I'm able to get a lot more information because when you're doing something like Estes method and you have the spirit box, you're trying to listen for like an individual word or something, right? Which is pretty limiting because when you think of somebody who is a medium, like, okay, I can see like a full, like somebody's life or like a day in the life that looks like a movie in my head. That's a lot more and a lot more information than just a single word that you might be able to decipher through coming through a spirit box. So I mean, the last one that we used, and we won't talk about the name because it hasn't been released yet, but when I was having those like OD symptoms, because I was using that and I was like describing it, and I've never used like,
that. I think
drugs. I don't know what that's like.
I have. I think all that to say that we don't want to do your basic, what you see a lot of mediums do, which is like, they make it very egotistical. They make it about them. Like, we don't want to make it the Nicole show. Like, it's funny, for as much as we like to talk and as sort of amplified as we also are not like us girlies. We don't want to make it all about us. So it's like, we wanted to, because one thing I understand, like, and this is not an opinion, the research very clearly shows that every one of us is or can be, has the ability to be whatever, what people would refer to as a medium. Okay, everyone has it.
It's
so
a skill, and you can practice it and hone it just like any other skill.
And we understand that very clearly, but we also understand the nature of what it means. It's not a parlor trick to go in and be like, oh, I pulled out history that I couldn't have known before. Look at me. Like, that is too far egotistical to get anything really done in this field, to really dive into this. We take that ego out. And we like to use Nicole like we would a device or a battery, right? Like, I want her to tap into places to try to connect with whatever intelligent thing is there. I could care less if she can pick up on a piece of history. That makes zero whatever to me. That's great. I think we can all do that. But if I can use her natural ability and natural gift at doing this and instead refocus that energy into tapping into whatever it is that's there, that's what I'm interested in.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, I think when we, the one that I talk about often, but it just lives rent free in my head, when we were at Waverly Hills, actually, and this is on one of the Real Ghost of episodes. We put out our series on Waverly Hills, and I did put this session in there. It was an Estes session, actually, but I was still, like, I was saying more than, just what I was hearing come through. Like, I was kind of channeling things, I guess. But it seemed like at one point we were having a conversation with something that was trying to describe to us what it's like on the other side, or like wherever they are, and we're getting these really like deep answers. Like, I can see you, but like, I'm not from here, like from here, but different. And, I don't know, it was like trying to explain to us like how it works. And those are the things that it's like, that's way deeper than just like, oh, how old were you when you died? What did you die from? What year did you die?
We really try to stay away from that, don't we?
Like, those are cool. And I feel like, I mean, for me at least, like, that's kind of my baseline, because we've talked about this before, like evidential mediumship, like getting the evidence first so what you're kind of like, you're on the right direction, like, okay, I'm tapped into something that's relevant, versus Joe Schmo ghost from down the street. So I like to.
What's her name? Joe Schmo.
That's it.
I want to answer really quick. Unreal, you have a lot of engagement with your people, so that's great. So, Unreal estate agent, have you ever had phantom smells and scents? Yeah, yes. That's a very common piece of paranormal phenomena. It's in the the two hands of paranormal phenomena is what I've been calling it, because you can count on two hands paranormal phenomena as it happens, and
that will happen.
That will happen, and that's one of them.
And it's always a tobacco,
a sweet tobacco smell, or a sweet smell,
or like a florally perfume. Rose,
interestingly enough, that's wildly talked about with Marian apparitions. Which is wild. But yes, to answer that question, we absolutely have quite often. There's a great picture of us doing an Estes session or an indie method, whatever, inside of a bathtub in an old plantation house in an old mansion in New Orleans. And that had kept coming, and it was coming on command, wasn't it? Yeah, that was great. So yeah, that's a long-winded way to say your question. Yes.
And he's writing some more in the chat. So let's cover my family house. The second one had a scent that would come and go. We never could find where it came from. I thought it had to be in the wall or ceiling, always at our back door. It's funny, but it smelled like someone's smelly underarms. We'd call it BO. It showed up like 6 years after we first moved there, out of nowhere.
That's a great being idea, is coming up with the deodorant for ghosts.
Yeah.
Like, bro, you smell, baby.
Yeah.
You know?
Demon odorant.
Yeah. Oh, wow. Hey-o, good job. That's good.
That doesn't deserve it. That was bad.
Demon odorant? You think so?
Demon.
Inventing and trademarking right here, folks, right in the flesh.
The gears are turning. You're seeing the magic happen.
I love it. I love the magic. Okay, so yeah, we are going to run out of time, so I'm going to skip ahead here because I do want to get to, and this may have already been stuff that you had mentioned, but I kind of want to understand your indie method, what is involved in that, because you guys get such outstanding activity. I talked to a lot of paranormal investigators, and your guys' shit is just so much. And I know from what I understand, you're not necessarily there to collect evidence to prove anything. You're there to experience, right? So that might be part of it. But what is it? What are you guys doing differently?
Well, I think.
Okay, wait. Can I start this one?
You can.
I can talk about ND, but I feel like, so to your point of we have a lot of crazy shit happen, yes, and we both separately have investigated with a lot of people, right? But I think first of all, like, I mean, everything's energy, right? Everything's waves, bruv. But baby. It's I don't know, something about like our energy together. And we found this out very early on because we started like doing experiments in the museum, and stuff just started getting weird. And we were like, what is this? This is like weird. It doesn't usually like happen like this. We were
always the only.
But then we have been very intentional to do energy work exercises together to try to cultivate that. And something that I have been saying pretty recently, I guess, but I do think that a lot of our success, especially with like the spirit box sessions and stuff like that we do when like I'm under headphones, so kind of the way that like we're using my mediumship now, I do think that a lot of that, to be honest, is like I'm kind of like tapping into your energy, and vice versa. It's creating like a sort of like circuit situation almost.
No, we're gonna have the same answer there. When you ask what are we doing different, I think it's a philosophical way. It's a philosophical answer because we are relying on each other. And it doesn't matter what experiment we're doing. We use spirit boxes. We use these things. The difference is with Nicole and I, we have an understanding, or we think we have an understanding of why these weird paranormal gadgets seemingly work. And it has nothing to do with the science behind the gadget itself. So I think what we're doing differently is approaching it with that esoteric thinking, and knowing that it is us tapped into each other that is allowing ourselves to be tapped into whatever is here in the environment. Versus a lot of teams you'll see, they're taking this scientific approach, which to me makes zero sense, because the material sciences are never going to solve what this is that we're communicating with. Hard stop. It just won't. And your EMF meters and your REM pods and your spirit boxes aren't designed to do the things that we're doing with them. So the science there, you should stay far away from that, okay? Or else you're just going to get destroyed. You're just going to get destroyed. Versus looking at these things and being like, well, these things do work. Why? Let's go deeper to try to understand why. And we will do, like Nicole said, energy work to connect with each other. We understand that a lot of this is us. So if we're using, let's say, a piece of paranormal gear, a gadget, that thing is not working and connecting with something because of its science. No, it's working that way because of our intent. It becomes a psionic process. So we understand that, and that's how we work together. There's a great picture to sum all this up. We were at Octagon Hall, and we were doing an Estes session, and Nicole was looking one way with the headphones on, the white noise, the whole deal. And we have a picture of this. And I told the guy with us, Eric, I said, watch this. I'm going to send my energy to her. Let's see her react. And I sit there and I stare at her, and I'm sending it. And then you see her turn. What? Just like that. And I think that right there is the best way to answer the question.
Okay. I just want to put Unreal Estate Agents messages up. Thank you so much for commenting. Appreciate it. Grew up in that house. It's where I was once physically touched on my back. Yes, common. And my cat who had passed that briefly visited, meowed to me 4 feet in front of me, but she couldn't be seen, heard only. Wow, man. I'll have to talk to Mr. Unreal Estate Agent after the show. You should message me. Let's talk. You've got a lot of stories.
It is 77. I'm trying to. That's been in my head.
You're trying to place it.
The whole time. I'm like, dude, I don't know if this is a James Bond thing. I don't know what's going on. Like, I can't even formulate my words correctly because you've got this fan base with these great names.
I guess so. That's what I'm known for. It's what I do. So you guys, this talk that we're having is reminding me very much of your plasmoid episode, which I listened to 3 times over and over and over because I still couldn't understand it, but I liked it. Does that make sense? I really liked it. I was like, wait, huh? Okay, replay. Let's go ahead and wrap it up here. I just want to ask you, just to clarify, nuts and bolts breakdown. ITC for anyone listening, what is included? How is it used? How are you guys using it?
Instrumental Transcommunication. Most people, if you're doing a spirit box session, or if you know what an Estes session is, that's in the realm of ITC. ITC it started with using radios and televisions and things of that nature to communicate with whatever this is that we're communicating with. We started, like a lot of people, utilizing spirit boxes, and the spirit box thing is wildly interesting. I'll never forget the first time I heard my own voice come through one, which caused me to have a wild breakdown.
Yeah, a little mentee.
What?
Yeah, and that was a shift for me in my thinking, and I'm like, okay, why do these things work so well, these spirit boxes? So I dove into that world and that research. You dive into the ITC world and you start to find groups of people who are far removed from the paranormal community. They don't like the shows. They don't like the groups. They don't go to the conventions, but they're doing very serious ITC work and having amazing results. And so I started doing these things nightly with analog radios just here at the house. And I got very good at it. And I was getting direct responses coming out of the radio. Like that's wild stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's what it is. It's using televisions, it's using radios, your spirit boxes. I consider really anything that you're using. Yeah, even using a REM pod is ITC. That transcommunication, intertranscommunication, you're using these devices. Typically it's radios and spirit boxes, things like that.
Radios and spirit boxes. Are there any visual ITC methods?
Yeah, of course. I mean, using like analog television. So one thing that a lot of researchers will do, and you can go down this rabbit hole, and there's wonderful stuff out there that's been captured. You can take a analog television set, put it on snow, so static, and take your video camera and plug the AV cords into the TV so they're plugged in together and point it at it so you get an infinity loop.
Okay.
And record that bad boy, and then go back to that footage frame by frame, do, and you will sometimes see words, you'll see faces, you'll see all kinds of things in there. So that's a visual way that you can do ITC is with a television. That's one way you can do it.
Okay. And I just have one more question. You reminded me with the audio aspect of ITC. I think it was a recap for Waverly about EVPs. There was an EVP that was captured, and you guys were considering whether EVP might sometimes be like imprints of the living mind, and that stuck with me. Is that something that you still kind of consider to be true? Can you expand on that just a little bit?
You want to go first? Because I'm gonna spew.
He's gonna go for it.
I mean, yes, and I think the thing that I think would provide a good example is a John Tenney-ism, I guess. Where
Shout out John Tenney.
What was it? The VHS tapes?
The VHS
that
tapes.
He was doing it on, where he would put it under his pillow and sleep on it.
Yeah.
Right. And, then go back through for however many nights he would
seen
do it.
Buildings.
Yeah. And he would go back through, and it's, a blank tape. Right. But he would go back through, and we were talking to him about it. He's like, you're sitting there and you're going through like hours and hours and hours and going frame by frame, and it's super tedious. And, nobody wants to do this. Who wants to do that? Right. But then he was like, when you get to that one frame where you look at it and it has like the imprint of a building on it, and it's the building that like you saw in your dream 2 nights ago, it's like, that is like wild shit.
It changes your life.
That's wild
shit. It changes your life. And I think, golly, yeah, that is a great experiment that people can try, is taking an old VHS tape, taking a refrigerator magnet, putting it on the tape, putting that under your pillow, and then sleeping and going back and looking at the tape frame by frame. But what was the initial question? I'm so sorry. Again, my brain is just
it's okay. Hold on. Answer this real quick, and then I'll re-say the question. Do you guys have a YouTube channel?
Yes, it's under ND Para House.
You've got Hair Force One in your corner, you guys, and I tell you what,
we have a lot of hairs in our group. Listen,
come to the dark side.
If you like what we're doing and you like the podcast, like most of our video content and fun crap, like is like joining our Patreon family.
Yeah.
We do all sorts of wild stuff there. That's where you're going to see us.
Yeah, we do a lot of experiments, and we like to make them interactive, because more brains are better than just us two ding dongs sitting here being
yeah,
so
more brains are better than us.
Yeah, so they're often, it's live streams. We're doing live experiments together. So yeah, if you want to, come to the dark side and get weird,
do it. Just go.
Yeah.
Now, the question was just in regards to the living imprinting their thoughts into the EVP they capture.
I think that happens more often than we know. And I think when we're able to get historical facts about a place, I think it's because we are more tapped into what I call the network than we think we are. And I think reality is based off of information versus just sort of dead matter. So hearing my own voice on it, but also 2 points. One, you hear it all the time. People have EVP sessions and they capture really compelling audio from an entity that's this historical entity that actually never really existed if you look it up, but here they are on an EVP. That is so wildly compelling, it makes my head spin. That's literally us creating the past in many ways, right? I do believe the past changes as we go on into the future, but there is that, but there's also this idea that like, I've yet to find anyone in this world that can show me an actual compelling EVP. And when it comes to ITC and EVPs, we've done this so long. I know how to look at them and see what's legit, what's not. Show me one that some guy got in, I don't know, Kentucky at a haunted location that is a different language, something that they could not understand. Right. That is something I don't believe really happens often at all. I've never seen it. Never seen it. Show me a EVP that's like a very clear, like that's Japanese dude. Like
we've literally had sessions before where I was saying like Spanish words.
Yes.
That I did not know, and Marcella translated.
So Estes sessions are different. I think an EVP where there's a recording of something else talking in a language that we couldn't understand, that to me is because even when we're doing Estes sessions, like you don't know what's coming through, like those frequencies are open. It could be a lot of things. We have the shortwave radio on. I've got Radio Havana on there, right? So I don't know. I think it happens a lot. We do actively try to experiment with that though, don't we? We literally will do experiments. We'll put Nicole under a mind machine and I'll hit the recorder on and I'm just trying to get her to focus on certain things and see if we can get that to imprint on our recording.
Yeah.
Okay.
For a while.
Yeah. a relaxing evening at home for us.
Okay. Just another Saturday night, guys.
Yeah.
Holy dang. Hair Force, I will get that to you that he was just asking to repeat. Yeah, I'll send you the link for sure. I've got all of that, and I've got a lot of their contact info in the show notes for tonight. And everybody, check them out. I want to do last call for the chat. If you guys have any final questions for my guests, please put them in now, and we will ask those as that is happening. What have you guys got coming up next? Any events, appearances, investigations?
Well, we were always investigating. We are literally this past month, I think we've been home the most that we have in the last year.
Yeah, it's been wild.
We just got back from literally going cross country. We went all the way up to Wisconsin and back.
But coming up things
is
the best place to catch us in terms of if you want to like hang out with us live, chat, do experiments, whatever, is going to be our Patreon. Patreon.com/ParaPeculiar. But if you are local to Texas, Austin area, or just want to go on a fun trip, first weekend of September, we are speaking and doing some experiments at the Metaphysical the letter U conference, and you could just find that on their website. It's metaphysicalu, the letter U.com, I believe. So we will be doing that. I'm running the seance with Sarah Reeves, who actually was my mentor in all of this. And then Damian is running CE5 event there. And then on Halloween, we are speaking, we're doing a talk and a demonstration for ITC work. And we're speaking on 2 panels for the Night Owl Spirit Social, which is happening here in Austin, and that is on Halloween. So those are our next couple like upcoming in-person things that we'll be doing.
We'll be investigating again at Old Park Hotel coming up. I don't know if there's any spots left for that event. And yeah, I mean, we are, I don't know where the next place will be. It will be somewhere soon. Literally every weekend is boom, 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 boom. We're just always on the road.
Yeah.
We'll be in Chicago soon, or Illinois soon.
Well, we're doing, it's back to back, New Orleans and then Chicago. Yeah.
To investigate
the Watsika house. Or the Hull House, I think is what it's called. But
yeah. Interesting story on that one. So be on the lookout.
Oh my gosh. I love y'all's life. I just love it. It's so cool. All right. You may repeat some things, but just to be sure we hit it, where are particular places online that you would like to send folks, and where do you actually want them to listen to The Real Ghosts of and ParaPeculiar?
Yeah. So you can listen to either of our podcasts wherever you stream podcasts. We're on all the platforms. So the Real Ghosts of podcast and the ParaPeculiar podcast. You can also find us on Instagram under those same names at the Real Ghosts of, at ParaPeculiar. But probably the best place to catch us aside from our podcast is going to be our Patreon, patreon.com/ParaPeculiar.
ParaPeculiar. We do have a museum as well with the items. We are always on the road. We like to put out on our socials, so follow us there when we're on the road, because we like when people say, hey, you're in my town. Mm-hmm. And we say, hey, tell us where the local legends are. Where's the lore? What's the ghost stories? What's the scuttlebutt? So
what's the scuttlebutt? Yes.
And so listen to it. And hey, if you do listen to our podcast and you like it, guys, maybe go over to Apple Podcasts or iTunes and leave us a review. Everyone, it does help. It does help. And if you leave us a bad review, we're just going to put it on a t-shirt and sell it and make money off of it. So,
well, on that note, thank you so much, Hair Force. Thank you. Love you. All right, you guys. So let's close out the episode. And you know what? We didn't discuss doing a backstage guest chat prior to recording. So if you guys don't have time, we don't have to do that. But if you want to hang out, I'm going to be putting you backstage here in just a second. But to close out the live portion of this show, would you like to leave my audience with any final thoughts, words of wisdom, or a piece of advice?
Mine, and I'm just going to speak for both of us, is nobody actually knows what the fuck they're talking about when we're talking about these subjects. So if anybody is telling you anything, definitively, they're probably wrong and run the other way.
Unless this shit is real, it exists no matter what it is.
It is.
It's real. Out there.
It is. It does exist. So that's, I guess definitive.
It's definitive.
Or maybe it doesn't. Maybe none of this is actually real and we're living in a simulation and none of this matters.
Well, we probably are living in a simulation. We probably are living in a simulation.
So
probably are.
I'm convinced more and more that is the case. Nicole, Riccardo, Damian, Schillaci. Y'all rock.
Last name right.
She did very good.
Did I say it right? Oh, thank you.
Yes, it's wild. It's wild.
Well, thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm going to put you backstage if you want to hang out just like 2 minutes, and I'm going to close it out. But otherwise, thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Season. Oh my goodness gracious. I'm going to have to re-listen to my own episode. That was nuts. Plasmoid theory. You just go listen to their shows. You'll know what I mean. So phenomenal people, obviously. They're working hard for you in the field today and every day, bringing you the latest and the newest and paranormal research and theories and experience and flavor. If you guys had any final questions for my final guests of the season and you did not get to ask them in the chat, although you guys were on fire tonight, thank you so much, but you didn't get them answered, you want to get it to them, like they said, reach out to them on Instagram. Let me throw that back up here just one more time. So you got at The Real Ghosts of and at ParaPeculiar, both great places to catch those guys. Also, their Patreon sounds like a pretty awesome place to catch them as well. And by joining, of course, you're going to get access to all kinds of new and exclusive stuff. You'll be ahead of the crowd. So go join them. That link is in the show notes. I think that's it for that. Announcements. Oh, yeah. So I've been very busy last couple of weeks. Last couple of months, years. Who are we kidding? I know, right? So next week's episode is going to be a little bit behind. Forgive me, but that is coming out shortly, followed by our season 7 finale episode. Yes, it is a huge celebration for me anyway, because it means that a year's worth of research and recording and writing and generally just killing myself over the material all comes together in a nice little, crunchy present, so to speak, for you. So keep an eye peeled for that conclusion. Please do send your thoughts on my final takes. They may not be right. I never claimed that to be the case. So I do always appreciate you guys writing in your opinions, your words of wisdom, disagreements. If you think I'm full of crap and you did actually see a demon in the flesh, probably in your bathroom, write that to me. I want to read that. paranormgirlpod@gmail.com or message me at paranormgirlpod on all social platforms. Now, per tradition, I will be taking a month off between seasons. I'm going to have some special videos kind of preloaded for you guys while the show is dark. And I'm going to talk about what that is on the conclusion episode. Also on the conclusion episode, I will be announcing the season 8 topic. You guys voted and I heard you, but you voted too hard because now we have a tie. So we're going to break that tie. You're going to help me. Appalachian folklore and high strangeness, it's a long title, is neck and neck with magic. So you can participate in breaking this tie by going onto Instagram Monday for 24 hours. There's going to be a poll in my story. So place your votes, place your bets. I almost said place your bets. Place your votes and let's break the tie. And then I will announce that on the conclusion. I think that is it for that announcement. Final announcement. Yes. Okay. So if you follow my other show, Beer, Booze, and Boogeymen, again, tune in September 3rd, 8 p.m. Central for our next live episode. We are discussing near-death experiences and superstitions. So if you have any personal stories or thoughts about either, call in 208-717-1611. Like I said during the show, near-death experiences are my jam. That is my personal favorite topic to discuss. So I am really, really hoping for a good crowd of callers. Again, if you have a story you'd like to share, when the line's open, call us 208-717-1611, or you can submit your story and have it read on air. Go to ghost.beer. That is ghost.beer. Super simple. And that's all I've got for you this evening. So I'm going to hop backstage and check back in with Miss Nicole and Mr. Damian, and we'll see about a backstage guest chat. If you want to find that, if we do record that, you can visit my Patreon, patreon.com/Paranorm Girl Pod. I will catch you guys back here for the next live episode, October 15th. Yes, check my notes. October 15th, my next guest. So there's a little bit of time there. In the meantime, you can still catch me on all of the other regular platforms in the coming weeks as we wind down and wrap up this investigation on ghosts and hauntings. Whenever I see you again, until then, stay safe, keep the nightlight on, and sleep with one eye open.